Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting of the Village of Ruidoso Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Briley?
Here.
Sorry, Chairman Briley, Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Michelina,
Here.
Commissioner Byers.
Here.
You do have a quorum for the record. Commissioner Tondino is absent today.
Very good. Declaration of conflict of interest for anybody? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead to item number 2, the certification of the resolution.
Chairman, I certify that this meeting has been posted in compliance with Section 54-40 of the Village Municipal Code of Ordinances, and we are in compliance with the Opens Meeting Act from Resolution 2021-02.
Thank you, Sam. Item 3, approval of agenda. Did everybody get a look at it, and we have a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Very good. Approval of the minutes. Hope everybody got a chance to read the minutes of September 7th. If there's any comments or concerns, let us know right now. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman Briley?
Yes, ma'am.
I found that the minutes on page 6, let's see, second line, I believe the code says 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., not 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
That is correct. We'll get that corrected.
It's in there a couple of places, I believe, so.
Okay. Thank you. Didn't notice that. The numbers were right, just in the wrong place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then other than my name being spelled wrong on the first line, it's okay to go. Anybody else have any comments? Can I get a motion to approve, please?
I move that we approve minutes for the September 7th meeting of the Village Planning and Zoning Commission
With those
the
changes,
changes
right.
as noted.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Michelina,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Chairman Briley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Item 5 is our public input section. If anybody wishes to speak to the commission about anything that is not on the agenda today, that now is your time. Step up to the podium and we'll give you a 3-minute window to talk about anything you want to. Seeing none, hearing none. Going, gone. All right. Item 6, conditional use request, case 21-160. Sam?
Thank you, Commissioners. Today we have with us Michael Aguilar. He's requesting a conditional use approval to operate a head shop in the C2 Community Commercial District within the Attic Condominium Project Subdivision Unit Number 3. It's 1031 Meacham Drive, number 5. As you all will remember, this year we've had multiple requests come through for this location. It's near Lotions and Potions, and so they've got a mixed use going there in that plaza. So in addition to what you see with the zoning map, they also have a tattoo shop there, some CDB selling products, and the manufacturing once their building permits get approved. So it's all across the board, the type of products that are being sold in that plaza. But if you all would like to give us some information, I know you're just occupying a small amount of space there in that plaza, so.
Yes, I have
Would you hit the button until it's green? Did you want to swear everybody in?
I was planning to at the public hearing, but I'll go ahead and swear you in now if you swear to tell truth under perjury law.
Yes, sir, I swear.
Okay, go ahead. identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Michael Aguilar. I have a 230 square foot space, I believe, at the attic complex. I'm looking to sell smoking accessories, glasswares, water pipes, hand pipes, those type of things. T-shirts, apparels with my logo on them, stickers, those kinds of things.
Very good. Sam, you said Unit 5, but the report says 3?
Yes, Unit 3.
Okay.
It's Building 3, Unit 5, sorry.
Okay. Just need to get it straight for the record. Commissioners, any questions to the applicant?
I'm just trying to get a clarification. Where is it exactly? Would that be to the north of Lotions and Potions?
Is it where Halos used
Yes,
to,
yes.
where the coffee shop used to occupy that front area?
I don't have
Okay.
that whole unit. There's just one space that is designated for my area. I've already gotten my inspections as well.
Okay.
So in the picture, is it the middle one there, or which,
On the right.
on the right, where the two-story ones are? Okay.
But it's not the
Yeah.
entire building or even the entire downstairs.
One of the units. Does that answer your question, Ron?
Yes.
Any other questions from the commissioners before I open it to public hearing? Hearing none, we're going to open the public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak on behalf of this project or against this project, please come to the podium, state your name. Anybody online wishes to speak for or against this item? Second chance. Okay, public hearing's closed. Commissioners, what is your wishes? Any other further questions you wish to ask? I guess my only question, I guess, Sam, would be parking requirements for the entire unit, the whole complex versus a single business in that. Do they meet all the requirements for the complex?
I have not completed the calculations based on the entire complex. We've kind of been piecemealing it unit by unit. They do need 2 spaces.
I guess I can ask the
Does it
applicant,
have
what, do you have any designated parking spaces for your unit?
Not that I know of, but that's not a question I have asked.
In your lease, does it designate how many spaces would be allotted?
I think it said that there was 2 in there, but I don't have it with me right now.
Okay.
Hey, Samantha, if I remember right, isn't there parking behind that building also?
Yes, sir, there is.
Okay.
So, Sam, the title of this is for a head shop. Define head shop, please.
A retail store that sells paraphernalia, pipes, bongs, rolling papers. So he's able to sell his other products that he carries right now, but I asked him not to place these types of products for sale until you all gave him approval or denial of it.
Okay.
So he's
Define,
open as a retail shop.
okay, define other products.
T-shirts, stickers.
Okay. Very good. Commissioners, any questions? Any comments? If anybody wishes to make a motion,
Let's see.
all right, while you're thinking of a motion, I guess I'll ask the applicant if you have seen the conditions that the Planning Commission has put on you, and do you go along with that?
Yes, sir, I have, and I do.
Okay, there's only 4, so she was easy on you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, Alan.
Go ahead.
Based upon the foregoing findings of fact per section 54-68, 54-141, and 54-100 of the Village Code, I move to approve the requested conditional use in case CU-2021-160 with the conditions contained within the case report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. One last question, Joe, before we vote. This is in conformance with the overall master plan as being rewritten, correct, Sam?
Yes, it is. We're encouraging economic development and infill in smaller areas and mixed-use development as well.
Very good, thank you. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Michelina?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
You're on mute.
Aye.
Chairman Briley?
Yes.
Didn't want you
Motion
to hear me
carries.
eating my caramel.
We'll need a signature from you all in the case study
Okay.
before you leave. So if you want to come sign her paperwork, if you want to leave now or you can stay, the next topic
Can I
is
get this signed
cannabis.
here as well?
No, this is for the chairman.
Thank you, Bud. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr. Cook.
I'm back.
All right, we're doing some bookkeeping over here, so bear with us on the next item.
If I'll just sign no date there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Our next item are public hearings, amendments to the Village Code Ordinance, Chapter 54, to define and amend in commercially zoned districts to reflect Cannabis Regulation Act. Sam, I need a little bit of update on how we got to this point, where we are. I know there was a subcommittee that looked at this once upon a time, so please explain at least where we got to the ordinance, and then I'll ask you to go over the ordinance changes.
Yes, so recently, RLD, the Regulations Licensing Division, came out with their rules for manufacturing and producers and began accepting applications as of September 1. So they've offered us more guidance on this. We've had meetings during the summer, during the council meeting, seeking public input. I've been just having one-on-one meetings, getting input from our community. We did have a steering committee formed, and they gave some valuable input. However, without clear rules from the state, it was a little bit tough to create an ordinance. Recently, we went to the New Mexico Municipal League Conference in Albuquerque, and Superintendent Trujillo for the Cannabis Division was there, along with the Municipal League Director, and they provided us with more information and clarification as to what they were guiding the municipalities to do. And as you all are aware, we only have jurisdiction over time, place, and manner, how we can establish these commercial cannabis businesses. And so using the guidance provided from those two organizations, we went ahead, Zach and I, and plugged in cannabis as if it was any other commodity. Where you see retail, we plugged in dispensaries. Where you see manufacturing and agriculture, we plugged that cannabis manufacturing in, as well as testing and research laboratories. The courier, we plugged into the only area that talked about transportation, which is our industrial zone. And consumption was plugged into our existing code, where bars and nightclubs were currently within the code, because that's the similarity with the cannabis consumption. And so with that, we plugged in cannabis. So we got each type of license and plugged it right into Chapter 54. So cannabis producers are plugged into agricultural zone C4 and industrial. Producer micro business is plugged into agriculture and industrial only.
Sam, are you summarizing or are you going through each page so we can follow along?
So I'm summarizing.
Thank you.
It is in the ordinance highlighted and underlined. If you'd like to read it, none of it that I've read so far. It's just plugged it as a principal permitted use, and then I will go through which are plugged in as conditional uses in those zones. So testing and laboratory. Testing research laboratories are plugged into C1, C2, C4, and industrial. And the courier is industrial, and the consumption area is C1, C2, and C3. Now for conditional uses that would require a hearing would be cannabis manufacturers in C2 zones, cannabis retailers in C4, and cannabis consumption areas in C4 and industrial. And that's because that's how the uses read throughout Chapter 54 already. So if you all would like, I would be happy to answer any questions, and Zach's here as well.
So we've got 42 pages of this ordinance to review, and we'll go word by word. You know, I'm just kidding. So, basically, let's start with basic questions to Sam. Did you understand what Sam was getting at and where we are and how we got here at this point?
Yeah, I just had one other question though, Sam. Is this basically a mandate from the state that's been sent down to us and they gave us the language, or have we come up with this?
So the definitions are straight out of the Cannabis Regulation Act. So they're straight out of the state statute.
Right.
And the way that each permit or license reads is from the Regulation and Licensing Division based on the permits they'll be issuing. So we just
Okay.
plugged it into our existing land use code.
So if I heard you right, except for those zones that you listed there at the end, this is a permitted use in the commercial zones now that it's now put into the ordinance.
Correct.
Principal permitted, not conditional.
Right, correct, except for those.
I have a question on page 19. It talks about integrated cannabis micro business. It states in there that on number 4, only one retail establishment. So at what level does that mean? The owner of that particular business, the owner of that particular franchise, the owner overall?
That's for
Clarify that.
that would be for the overall franchise of that micro business. So the state has these vertically integrated businesses that are allotted basically every license type. Micro just means that they have less of, but the vertically integrated cannabis establishments are those that we already have here in our community. Pecos Valley, Oso has one, all of these big names that are already here. The integrated cannabis micro businesses, I believe, are those that are to come now and be able to submit their application in January. They're not these big name shops that are already established. Those that were with the Department of Health are coming in with an advantage because they have these other licenses afforded to them.
I see. Oh, well, cool. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Other questions? Sam, give us the process where we're at now. So we recommend this to the council, and is the council going to hear at the next meeting, or are they still doing other things to get this in line before January?
I've entered a request that'll be heard next Tuesday by the governing body to schedule a public hearing in November. So the second Tuesday in November, it'll be heard. And if there's any changes, they'll be incorporated in. But it is pressing that we get this adopted before the new year, because that's when potentially retail sales could start happening, but it doesn't appear that way.
Has there been talk with, I guess, the senior leadership, whether we're going to have more staff to enforce this?
So on our end, we're going to see an uptick in building permits, I would assume. And my building officials have attended training along with the fire department as far as what to look for in large grow operations, as well as ventilation for mechanical and HVAC stuff, so.
And I'm assuming the state or municipal league or somebody has done the social impacts of these laws before they adopted them, correct?
Of course they have.
Commissioners, any other questions before I open this for a public hearing?
It seems to me that on page 59, I believe we're in R2 at that point. No, we're still in R1. They have multifamily dwellings listed now.
That's
So
the next
that'll
one.
be
Was
Yeah.
2-family before, and now it's up to 6 units?
Right, that's the next ordinance, Vicki.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
that's our next item up for discussion.
Sorry.
You're trying to get this meeting over with. I like it. Let's
I
go.
really am move this thing along.
All right. If there's no other questions from the commissioners, I will open the public hearing for this ordinance. We don't have a number yet, but it is essentially the addition of cannabis businesses into our land use zoning code, correct? Basically.
Yes, sir.
Public hearing. Anybody wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none? Second chance? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your recommendation? Again, this is a recommendation to pass forward to the council. I guess our motion would be somewhere in the back to recommend. What's the word,
Proposed
Sam?
addition.
Forwarded on. Commissioners? Any more discussion? Any motions?
Get there. I propose a motion that we accept the addition of the aforementioned and noted cannabis zoning for our ordinances. I don't know how else to put it. It's a zoning matter, right?
Right, but it is an ordinance that gets forwarded to
The
council.
ordinance, right?
Yes.
So that we do we just forward it?
We have a motion to recommend approval and to forward to the city council. Do I hear a second?
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for this ordinance to pass forward or pass on to the council. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Michelina?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Okay, now On to the next item, amendments to the Village Code Ordinance, Chapter 54, to define and amend conditional uses in all zoning districts to incorporate multifamily housing units. Vicki, I know you have a question already. Go. Actually, let's let Sam give a briefing on where we got to this ordinance.
Okay, Commissioners, this was brought forth by Counselor Eby in an effort to develop vacant residential land and to increase the number of units. We have added multifamily housing in the R1, R2, M1, and M2 upon conditional use to allow up to 6 units. As you all know, we have a huge problem right now providing housing for our workforce to include teachers, policemen, firemen, just about any job in the community. We're having people commute in from over 30 miles away, and we need to think of a solution, and we see this as one part of the puzzle. So we think that encouraging infill of multifamily housing would be the highest and best use of the land.
However, there's no guarantee that it is workforce. They can build 6 mansions on it, correct?
Yes, they could do 6 spec luxury townhomes.
Correct. Okay, thank you. So I pretty much see the highlighted, and these pages of the ordinance are pretty much adding in every one of the sections for multifamily dwellings, not to exceed 6. So I guess our discussion is to talk about 6 units, if that is reasonable in accordance to our master plan and accordance to the needs that we have in the community. Vicki, I'll let you go first.
Well, it seemed as though we jumped in R2 as well as M1, both suddenly grew. R2 the greatest because it jumped from 2 units to 6. And I just wonder if we couldn't do that in a more gradated fashion for those who knew zoning R1 when they bought it, their homes there as single family dwellings, yeah. Single or 2 family.
Other comments from the commissioners? Vicki, it makes sense. Again, people buy a R1 dwelling thinking they're a single-family housing, and now all of a sudden we're allowing 6 to go into the vacant lot next to them. I guess,
Chair.
go ahead.
So we do feel that covenants and deeds in subdivisions would supersede some of this from happening. But we would like to encourage infill where possible upon conditional use. You know, they're still going to need to meet variances. Some lots just would not be suitable for 6 units. And so that'll dictate how many go in as well.
But the village doesn't enforce covenants.
That's right.
So it would be
It would
a
rely on
private.
the individual to take that person to
Right.
court, and they rarely win.
Yeah, I'm with Vicki on this as far as a single-family dwelling, and, if I bought something and there were a vacant lot next to me, I would be expecting a single-family dwelling to go up, not a 6-plex.
And it's not necessarily vacant lots. A
Right.
existing R1 can add in now, if he has the room and the setbacks and everything, another 1 or 2 units based upon a conditional use, correct? Mm-hmm. Good.
I think you're opening a can of worms.
Go ahead,
I'm
Ron.
not crazy about that in R1.
Okay, well, that's what we're here for. Here to discuss it. You want me to go ahead and open it up to a public hearing, see if anybody wants to talk about it before we
Sure.
continue our conversation? Very good. Let's open the public hearing for this ordinance. This is to add multifamily up to 6 units in pretty much every one of our zones. Is there anybody that wishes to speak for or against this proposed ordinance?
I would just like to make mention that upon conditional use in an R1, you can have a school, a civic, a cultural, or a church. So just because it does say single-family homes, it's not the only permitted use,
Got it.
or use, I guess.
Seeing none, our large audience that we have here is just dying to speak, but I think we've got their hands tied down. They can't talk. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, keep talking about this. What's your ideas? Vicky, what?
You know, I really go along with what Vicki was saying. I mean, a lot of people, you come up here, you buy what they believe to be a single-family housing area, and then all of a sudden, we're going to open it up. And I know it might not be for 6 units, but still, if you open it up for 2 or 3, it makes a big difference. And I don't know if we want to open that up in R1.
Okay.
Just kind of how I feel.
Yeah. As you know, a 2-family residence or 2-family dwellings are allowed in R1 right now. So we're increasing that. So what are your recommendations? You want to look at each one of these zones and graduate it in, transition it in to from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, or what's your thoughts?
I should have left myself muted. Could I make a suggestion that perhaps R1 remain as a 2-unit, R2 become a 4-unit, and then go up to R6 from there? I mean, to 6-unit from there. Remaining zones
In the M,
that would be affected, yeah.
So have a tiered R1, keep it at 2, R2, keep it at 4, and then up and beyond R2, it's the 6 units as proposed. Is that what I'm
Right.
hearing you?
so strike it out of R1, this addition, strike it out, and then R2 for 4 and M1 and M2, 6.
That's what her suggestion is. We haven't made a motion or anything on this yet.
I could support that.
Did I close the public hearing? Yeah, I did.
You opened, there you go.
I opened something. All right, Ron,
Alan, what
thoughts?
did you say? What did you say was allowable in R1? Right now, what do we have? Single family and sometimes a 2-unit.
Yeah,
correct?
2-family dwellings
Yes.
are allowed. Again, the ordinance reads, 2-family dwellings are allowed, providing one of the dwelling is owner occupied and the second dwelling is for long-term monthly rental. The use for generational housing, long-term monthly rental or care provider, parking shall be provided at the rate of blah, 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 and shall comply with sections 22-31. So those are the uses. Sam brought up that, there are schools, churches, and other things like that that are in an R1. So, if we're going to have, thoughts about a non-residential R1 zoned place to have up to 6 units, then we have to talk about that as well.
Public buildings and churches,
Right.
substations, and daycares.
So, Sam, is this a draft that came out of a committee or a suggestion from one of our counselors? How did we get to 6 units versus 4 units versus 8 units? How do we get to 6 units in this ordinance?
I believe it was mentioned to our counselor by several of his constituents, the need to have multifamily housing throughout the village. And so this was our start to plug this in. In another part of our ordinance, it defines the multifamily dwellings and it says not to exceed 6 units. So we went with that number. There isn't any hard data behind that. So I think that even 3 additional units on an R1 lot would be
50% more.
a help. Yeah, I mean,
So basically what we're saying is we're going to change R1 to R3, kind of. I'm just going way over your head. But in essence, what we're doing is we're eliminating single-family residential
Dwelling.
zones.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you stated that right now it's 2 dwellings, but one has to be owner occupied. But with a proposed 6-plex, does one still have to be owner occupied?
that's based on you all. If you'd like to add additional conditions into this, we can add those in. Whatever stipulations, if you want to knock the 6 down to 2 or 3, we can place any conditions. If you want to say not to exceed so many square feet, I mean, anything can be a condition of that use. I do know with the Chapter 54 rewrite, this has come up as well, so we're going to face this again in January.
I still don't like the idea of
I
changing
don't.
R1. I'm reticent about the others, but I'll go along with it.
The master plan, again, we change ordinances as per what the people want. Was this
Yeah.
discussed in our master plan that all residential units need to be multifamily?
No, this is just an effort to increase infill. I do know that mixed use is being sought after. A lot of people want to live, work kind of a situation. Retail on bottom and housing up top or things like that in commercial zones. And so this is something a little bit different since it is a single family district.
Commissioners, you want to change this? You want to leave it as is? You want to make other, like she said, square footage, owner occupied by at least one of the units? What do you guys want to do?
I personally don't want to increase R1 by that many units. So, I mean, right now, if we have 2, one being owner occupied and the other one being long-term use or long-term rental, I think that's fine for R1. And maybe we ought to look at what we can do to R2.
Okay, so again, going to page 59, what you're saying is strike number 8. Just leave it.
Number 8.
Yeah.
Leave it as is. Okay, we're going to go through this, I guess, zone by zone
Okay.
for recommendations. So that's kind of what I'm gleaning from the commission of what your thoughts are. So R2, which would be on page 62, number 7.
7.
So we already have conditional uses for daycare, electrical substations, gas regulating stations, water pump stations, water towers, lift stations, public buildings, churches, schools, radio and television, microwave transmitting towers, and now multifamily dwellings. And the principal permitted use in an R2 is single-family and 2-family detached dwellings and public parks. So is this, I'm going to kind of glean what you guys are all talking about. So what you're saying here is where it has number 7 multifamily, you're saying not to exceed 4. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then for the rest of them, it all
Yeah.
say the same, Sam. So going back to, since we kind of struck that out of R1, R2, do you want to put any conditions or any thoughts of owner occupied, square footage, anything like that that you would like to see in here? That would be page 62, and we're adding to multifamily dwellings, apartments, townhomes, not to exceed 4 units, with conditions. Yes, no, owner occupied, I heard Bart say
Can I
that,
ask,
but Go ahead.
Samantha, do we not have in the codes already a maximum amount of lot that can be covered by buildings, percentage-wise?
Yes, that's correct. It dictates how much, how the setbacks should be met. And then with the accessory dwellings, it can only occupy so much of the rear yard. But the main principal permitted structure, I don't believe there's a maximum as long as they meet the setbacks.
Okay.
okay.
So that's why I didn't add those conditions in, because it has a, if you see E, it says the development requirements, they'll have to fall under all of that.
All those setbacks.
Yeah, so that'll be caught there.
Well, I'm like Commissioner Williams, I thought we had a square footage of lot coverage in our code somewhere, but I guess.
We have a minimum lot area for
Yeah,
each zone, but not.
Okay, coverage. Thoughts, R2, any conditions, anything? Bart, you said owner occupied. What do you think about that
I'm,
with the
in
R2?
R2, I'm not
Okay.
concerned with it.
Good.
R1, yeah.
Okay. Commissioners, Ron, Vicky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with Bart. I mean, I don't think we need to have owner occupied in R2.
Okay. All right. So, is there anything else Commissioner thinks is good or bad for this ordinance? So I'm going to summarize.
Well,
Go ahead, Ron.
I think the question becomes 4 or 6 units. But if it's governed by the square foot of the lot, doesn't that kind of take care of, basically what they can jam in there?
I believe so.
Right. And again, we have a minimum size of what a dwelling unit is. And so how many of those
Right.
can you put on a lot?
On a lot.
What's the minimum size of a dwelling unit?
Sam, what?
That's going to fall under the building code.
You're right. It's not in this ordinance.
Yeah,
but
it's not in this chapter.
somewhere like 700 and something feet, I
I
think.
was gonna say, I don't know that.
Well, we do allow for tiny homes in the village, so
Yeah, I mean, you can have 500 square foot units, right?
and those may be affordable.
Yeah.
Could
As
be
long as they
the,
meet the setbacks and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have that.
Stack them up.
And that's why it says townhomes or apartments, too.
And what?
Right.
And apartments. All right. So, anything else we want to talk about with this ordinance?
Samantha, is this the one about our property?
this is the one to allow for multifamily dwellings in residential districts. So
That would be
if you'd
awesome.
like to speak on behalf of.
We've acquired 36 acres up there.
Sir, can we get you to swear in and state your name, please?
Tom Lindsay?
Swear to tell the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Go ahead. We already closed
I apologize for
the,
being late, I couldn't find the place.
that's okay. We already closed the public hearing, but I'll open it since you just showed up. Go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. But anyway, we've got, do you want me to keep standing? We got 36 acres that we've acquired. They're on Chavez and Valencia, and they're building the sewer and water up to the property as we speak. And we hope to maybe do some multifamily condominiums and stuff like that, something like Hubbard did up in the header he was at. So we can bring some high dollar well, not high dollar, not compared to Alto, but some pretty nice homes and apartments or townhomes in that area. Because to justify the cost of what everything costs now, the infrastructure, it's just hard to do single-family homes on that deal and come out with anything. And with the sewer and water, everything coming up there right now and brand-new roads, it seems like the perfect time to be able to utilize that property to the best of its ability. Because everybody knows it has anything with development is the land will pretty well tell you what it can and can't do. And that's what we would hope to do. I mean, we could do the 60 homes. That's what it's zoned for right now. And we've plotted that and sent it before the city 6 months ago.
Yes, we remember.
But what I'd like to do is maybe try some of that lower area, because it's kind of flat. We may be able to produce some pretty nice townhomes in there. And maybe even up in the corners where the altitude, where it jumps up so steep, we may be able to build them back into it, just like what Hubbard did up there on his. I don't know. It's just that we would like to be able to see if that's possible. And the way it is zoned right now, we can't do that, so there's no need in looking at it until something changes.
Correct. So if I remember the layout, what you said, that subdivision kind of basic layout was somewhere about 60 units. Is that what you had
Yes, sir.
originally?
That's what we had. And we're all about 3/4 of an acre per lot.
So I guess listening to the commission, what they're saying is if this is zoned R1 and we put this in there, you can have up to 360 units in that
Area.
unit. In that area.
That's what I didn't catch, at the beginning. I apologize for that. But we're not going to put 360 units in there, I don't believe.
I understood, but you could. Right.
Yeah, you
And that's the kind of thing that we're looking at as far as the impact to utilities, infrastructure, and the neighbors and all that kind of stuff. And
Yes.
so if we're making it, and using his subdivision as an example, that may be one of those that we should just zone it mixed use type of thing, when he comes in for his subdivision plan. But all we had so far is a sketch plan, I think.
Yes, sir, it is,
Yeah.
because don't really know which way to go. The
Right.
nice thing about that property, it sets kind of a bow, so we don't interfere with anybody in any direction other than what we do in the 36 acres.
Right. All right, I'm going to reclose the public hearing. So thank you
very much,
for your input. Commissioners, continual thoughts. What do you think about the discussion we just had and the discussion that you have been given, I guess you've been talking about? What do you think? Sam, I'm going to ask you a question about his development. We have not gone through any process except for a sketch plan. So this could be a PUD or mixed use or whatever if the commission so chooses to do so on his application. Or is it only residential R1 no matter what we do?
His property is zoned R1, so
Could it be rezoned?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I can't remember if he's contiguous to any other zones.
He
But
is.
any piece of
Because it
property
being a
that's,
new subdivision.
He's R1 on both sides.
yeah, any
There's trailer
property.
houses on one side.
Surrounded.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, any property that borders another zone has the opportunity to be asked to be rezoned.
Okay. Commissioners, thoughts?
Yeah, as far as that subdivision he wants to do, I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't just rezone it. If they want to change how many homes they put in. So, I mean, I think as far as what we want to do, we can put our limitations for R1 and R2, and maybe something like that. They could either go for a
Conditional use.
family. Yeah.
Okay.
My concerns were for the pre-existing R1. In his situation, there are no homes built. People that, to change the rules for that situation, maybe it's R1 A or whatever type of zoning that from any added new subdivision that's it could be allowed as far as more housing and but I don't think we should undermine what's already existing.
And I do
Chairman
need to
Barley?
remind the commission that the multifamily as proposed is based upon conditional use. That means it has to come through us in order to give conditional use, and we can put all those conditions on it if we want to leave that in here. Vicki, did you have a question?
For Samantha, what's the usual process to rezone an area?
They come before the planning commission and the village council because it has to be approved by ordinance, an amendment to our map, our zoning map. But they would need to demonstrate their reasoning why they would like to be rezoned. I believe the last one we had was the river on the sanctuary down there in Midtown. Deborah Nix had sold it and it became a single-family home. We lost a commercial space.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's the wishes of the commission?
I needed to make mention.
Go ahead.
Another zone that this is plugged into is the AR1, the agricultural/residential district.
Wish we had a zoning map. I can't remember where that is.
If you'd like, I can pull up a zoning map here and share the screen so Commissioner Williams would be able to view it as well.
If I remember though, the AR are generally larger lots. You can have farms and ranches and stables and playgrounds and golf courses and all the other things that R1 does, like churches, public buildings, radio stations and such like that. But if I remember right, I think they're bigger lots.
That's correct.
Can I see can you do that for me? Pull it up so I can see the zoning map?
Yes, of course. 1 moment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Shall we take a 5-minute break while Sam's pulling it up? Or is it going to be quicker than that,
Sure.
Sam? Okay, we're not going to take a break.
Y'all have a lot of stuff to cover today?
This is the last on our agenda except for reports.
Oh, okay. I'd have been here a little earlier, but we're working on that house that we got there on Hull Street, trying to fix it up. It's a lot of work.
No problem. At least you got here before we ended.
Before we ended.
Yeah, we zip through these things usually.
We've been coming up here all our lives since we're a ranching family, and the only vacation we ever took was once a year. We'd come to Ruidoso.
And now you own property and ready to,
Yeah, we sold our cows,
Be a-
and
be a-
traded in for land. My brothers developed property in Dallas and South Lake Carroll and Rowlett. We're a little familiar with it.
your sketch plan that you submitted to the planning and zoning was very interesting. We were intrigued by it coming in. because we do need more housing. But I'm not sure if 6 units per lot is the right thing to do either.
No. Well, we don't want to go in there and cut all the trees down either. That's why people come up here is for the trees, and we don't want to go in there with a dozer and clear it all out.
Correct. What color is AR?
It's going to be a vibrant yellow, not like this pale yellow here. So I'm not seeing any,
Vibrant yellow.
there's a piece right there on Pikes Peak.
Is that the top of Swish Hilly Hill?
Yeah.
So you can see it's a large tract.
Yeah, right. Right as you get the top, if you take a right and go up that hill, that's Pikes Peak.
Cannabis and,
There's a cell
yeah.
phone tower there. Is there any particular area of town you'd like to see the zoning of?
No. Vicky, did you see that there was only one location that had AR zoning, which she was talking about? It's, and so, again, it's a large tract up on Pikes Peak, and it is zoned AR1, which is right there. It's probably on a very steep hillside.
Yeah.
Yep. Vicky, can you see that screen? Did you disconnect our commissioners?
I'm still here.
Okay. Vicky, were you able to see that zoning map?
She may be muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
No, I didn't. Oh, there it is, okay.
Yes. That's the only zone that's AR1. So Sam was saying, again, it's agriculture residential 1. It's an R1, but agriculture. It's a bigger tract of land and everything. And if I know that area, it's a pretty steep hill right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the only place where we have AR1. So I guess her question is, do we want to keep the 6 units in AR1 or limit it as we did R1 to the 2 dwelling units?
Well, because they're larger lots, I would say they could at least go to 4, if not 6. But, yeah. 4.
Hope you guys are taking notes because you're making the motion.
Is that a threat?
I know, I'm just talking.
Thanks, Sam. All right. So she did mention that there is an AR1, which is still an R1 sort of quasi zone. That's on
Right.
page 63 of your total packet, page 6 of the ordinance. If you wanted to look at that and decide whether we want to keep that as 6, as the discussion was, or if you want to put it back to a similar R1, R2. Sam, do you have anything else you want to throw at us that's going to make us think again?
Yeah.
That'd be the only addition besides the R1, R2, and M1 and M2. So,
Right.
So as I have it now, strike it from R1 and then R2, 4 units, M1, 6 units, M2, 6 units, and R1, 6 units. Is that correct?
That's what I'm understanding,
R1.
unless, Vicky mentioned something about 4 in the R1, AR1.
Only because
Hey,
they're larger lots, but, yeah. I wouldn't make it more than that.
Whoever's taking notes, I'll ask for a motion.
How do we accommodate the gentleman over here if because here I am in support of his wanting to build, multifamily and with his new development and all. Is there some way we can add some language or grandfather the pre-existing R1s as, the 2 units and possibly anything added after that?
So,
More?
if I remember right, with initial subdivision submittals, they're supposed to submit the proposed zoning. With this already zoned R1, we have to leave it that way. I'm with Bart. I mean, that lower section where it's a little bit flatter or even up on the higher section, man, wouldn't an R2 or an R3 be nice in there? And that's what I was talking about, like a mixed zone, if they can submit a subdivision as a mixed zone or a mixed use. I
Or
don't know.
conditional use.
I think for Mr. Lindsay, we'll have to approach this as an individual case, and if you all would like to move forward with the recommendations you've provided, we can do that and work with him individually on this issue. Thank you, Alan.
So we're leaving the door open as far as his situation. We can proceed with the. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good with that.
Well, I'm good with that. Yes, sir. Now we could submit something that maybe y'all would be able to look at and see where we need to go.
Massage the-
But before this, we couldn't do anything because we couldn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't available. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners? Motion. Who took notes? I know Vicky did. And again, this will go to council. They can change everything we just did and everything we talked about. So let's, we can at least make our recommendation to the council and they can decide what they want to do based upon their input and their public hearings.
I move that we, let me see how to word this. I move that we leave R1 as is, amend R2 to 4 units, and everything else to 6 units.
No, not AR1.
Do you want to make a friendly amendment to that motion?
Could we amend AR1 zoning not to 6, but to 4? Or 2 even, but they're large, so.
They are large, that's why they get 6.
Yeah, but they bought large for a reason.
Right.
I'm hearing the maker of the motion not approving your friendly.
Yeah, I think,
Amendment.
you have to put it through the way he stated.
All right, so we'll say that is the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So the motion and the second is to recommend our modifications to this ordinance to council. I know that's what Bart was saying. So we'll have a roll call vote for moving this on to our recommendations to the council. Sam?
Chairman Briley,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Michelina,
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. I know it was good discussion. I appreciate everybody's input. And we'll work with any new subdivision that comes in that's going to provide housing and workforce housing and nice housing and, as you mentioned once, luxury housing. We're all for everything. All right, that's the end of our public hearings. Sam, community development reports.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to introduce you all to Victoria. She is our new administrative assistant in the department, so we are once again fully staffed, thank goodness. She's a great addition to our team, fast worker and a quick learner, so we're excited to have her. We continue to work.
Can we see her face without her mask
I
on?
get rid of it.
Okay, now we saw her. Okay.
We continue to work on the Chapter 54 rewrite. We plan on putting together a steering committee meeting for the end of this month, the last week of this month. So we're trying to coordinate dates and times with Site Southwest to come back down. In addition to that, we had one respondent to an RFP that was put out to develop, buy, sell, or become a qualified grantee with the Village of Ruidoso to create housing. As you all know, we have a huge need for housing at all income levels, not just affordable housing. So we've been talking with several different agencies or organizations on bringing them and working in partnership with them in the village. And we have a workforce housing meeting this Thursday to evaluate the respondent, which was Mesa Apartments LLC. As becoming a qualified grantee. We're no longer working with Chelsea, so we've been reaching out to other companies trying to form these partnerships to improve our housing situation here.
Question before you get off housing. In, I think was C2 zone right next to Starbucks, there was the bay window house or whatever it is that was supposed to be some luxury condos. Do they have a time frame of when they're going to do anything?
We have not heard back from Russ Gillette, and his permit is about to lapse once again, and so he may come back before you all in the future with a new idea, but as of right now, no, there hasn't been any movement. He hasn't made contact with us on that. There were other properties he was pursuing, and those two fell through, so.
Thank you.
I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry.
Dang.
But,
I shouldn't have interrupted.
Reports?
Yeah, we've got a lot of moving parts. The building and permitting has been steady, and we're seeing a lot of new single-family housing, as well as people purchasing existing homes and completely gutting them and renovating them. So things have stayed busy, and we have made a switch with our short-term rental software. We're no longer with Host Compliance. We're now with Muni Revs. They offered a few more services that we were interested in, and so we've made the transition as of September, and it seems to be going pretty smooth. We have individual appointments set with property managers, helping them make the transition over to the new system, but right now we're sitting at about 1,011 short-term rentals that are registered in the village. So I'll stand for any questions.
Sam, during, I guess, your announcement for this meeting, you said this is the last meeting we're having here?
Yes, all of our public meetings will transition to Village Hall once again, starting with the council meeting next week. One additional item, we were awarded $60,000 additional money towards our CDBG project in the Town and Country subdivision that we'll be able to apply to delays that we've experienced due to COVID. And we also were awarded by DOT a $3.5 million grant to redo Paradise Canyon Road, Warrior Drive, and Gavilan Canyon Road in its entirety, including the county portion, and to bring those manholes up to grade. And so we're excited to get that kicked off in the spring.
Yay, me.
Yeah.
No, wish I really had something to do with it, but no, you put in very good applications.
You brought up Town and Country sewer. The portion of Mary Street that got ripped up with the understanding that it was going to be included and then now it's excluded. What's up with that?
My understanding is that it was still included. I haven't heard that it was back out of the project. Are you talking about where they overmilled? Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that that was not part of it, but I will follow up with you and get back with you.
Because otherwise, we've been living with a dirt road that's,
It's been challenging, yes, and
yeah,
slower than anticipated, so definitely understand the frustration. But I will get with our engineer and see if that portion's going to be
I would appreciate
in or
it.
out.
Because I was pretty much assured that it was coming down that way.
That was my understanding, but haven't been following it as closely, but I'll get back with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sam? Okay, commissioners' comments. I'll start. So, Sam, last meeting, we heard from Allsup's coming into the corner of White Mountain and Highway 48. I heard them talk out in the parking lot. They were going to appeal to the council. Have they already, or is that upcoming?
Yes, they have submitted their appeal request, and it will be heard next Tuesday
Okay.
by the governing body. They believe that they are not an automobile service station, that they fall more under a convenience store that happens to have pumps, and they are not servicing anybody. And so with their view of the code, that's what they're basing their appeal application on.
And just, I know I asked Sam after the meeting, when there were 2 no votes that killed that project through planning and zoning, I asked if the commission that vote no would give a statement on why their justification was a no vote. And when it comes to serious issues like that, and I know I've had to do that on a variance that I've voted no for, I had to state my reasoning pursuant to, health and welfare or whatever it is. So I just need to remind the commissioners that it's just standard practice that we got to do. Also, I think it was last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we had one of our commissioners complained about auto repair shops and parking on side roads and everywhere else. Did we get a chance for code enforcement to go look at that, or anybody else?
Yes, the shop on Meacham, code enforcement did go out there, and to my understanding, he said they were in compliance with their parking. The one on Carrizo Canyon is a little bit of a challenge because they are contiguous to county property, which they also own. And so, as you all know, there is not any zoning in the county, and that's been a challenge. But we're continuing to make sure that his vehicles that are not operational are, not crowding the parking lot that he's supposed to have there for the shop. We have mentioned to him maybe on his county property, maybe he could erect some sort of screening of those vehicles.
I have seen, since I live on Carrizo Canyon now, I've seen a lot of backing onto the main road and stuff like that, and again, causing a little concern. Other commissioners have any reports, any comments, any questions? Welcome back, Bart.
Thank you.
Hearing none, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn.
Move in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Vicky, you're muted. We need your vote.
Aye.
Awesome. We're adjourned. Thank you.
You didn't vote.
Okay, bye.
See you later, guys.
Okay,
Bye, Ron. Bye, Vicky.
bye. Thanks for the backup.
What is y'all plans to do with all the dirt that you got there, floods piled up everywhere? Were y'all gonna do that so you can put snow somewhere?
leave that to Sam. I don't know. I know that.
I know it's-
there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff in it, it's,